Like and subscribe. 2:20 p.m. The media got this completely wrong. And I can prove it. 3 days. That's all it took. 3 days of voluntary minicamp. Helmets and shorts. No pads. No live pass rush. No real competitive pressure of any kind. And somehow the entire sports media machine had already written the verdict. Deshaun Watson commanding the room. Shedeur Sanders falling behind. One outlet, and this is the one that genuinely got under my skin, actually floated the idea that Shedeur might not even hold down the backup spot. Third string. On a depth chart. After 72 hours of walkthrough sessions in April, that take didn't just get published. It got amplified. Show to show, platform to platform, until the sheer repetition of it started doing what repetition always does in this industry. It started feeling like fact, like consensus, like something everyone quietly agreed on while nobody was actually checking the receipts. So today, that's exactly what we're doing. We're checking every single receipt. Let's start with what Todd Monken actually said at that press conference. Not the headline version. Not the convenient summary somebody shaped to fit the story they'd already decided to tell. The real thing. Monken said Shedeur Sanders received more overall repetitions across all 3 days. He explained that certain practice windows were deliberately built around run game work, and that run-heavy periods naturally compress meaningful quarterback snaps regardless of who's under center, creating a visual imbalance that had nothing to do with actual quarterback work distribution. He said Shedeur took the first reps in 11-on-11 team drills. And then he told the entire room directly, do not draw competitive conclusions from the sequencing of a single voluntary spring session. The head coach of the Cleveland Browns, on the record, explaining the rep distribution, breaking down the visual optics, and saying out loud that Shedeur went first in team drills. And the story that came out of that same press conference? Watson asserting veteran dominance while Shedeur struggled to keep pace. That is not a difference in analytical interpretation. That is a conscious, deliberate decision about which facts get carried into the story and which ones get left quietly on the press conference floor. Now let me take you somewhere else, because this moment doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves. While all of this media noise was building, Shedeur Sanders was in Miami, doing private training work, the invisible kind. Early morning, nobody watching, no cameras, no content cycle, no organized audience. Just a quarterback and a football and the quiet, unglamorous repetition that separates the people who say they want it from the ones who actually chase it before sunrise. A content creator found him there. A streamer looking to capture some footage of Shedeur throwing routes. Something shareable, something that could build the kind of social momentum a young player in his position genuinely needs right now. Visibility matters in the narrative game. Everyone knows that. And Shedeur said no. Not rudely. Not dismissively, but with a calm, quiet clarity that told you everything you need to know about what's actually driving this young man. He said in effect, minicamp is coming, training camp is coming. I have a position to earn and I cannot afford to treat a single day casually. Come back when it's over. I need you to feel what that decision cost him in that moment. Because the cost is real and it never gets talked about. He is competing against a quarterback who is owed $46 million by the very organization they both play for. Money that doesn't move. That doesn't adjust. That doesn't shrink based on anything that happens on a depth chart or in a training camp rep count. That financial commitment creates what I call organizational gravity. A slow, steady, invisible institutional pull toward making that investment look justified. Toward finding a way, any way, to validate what has already been spent, even when the on-field evidence starts pointing clearly in a different direction. Shedeur operates inside that gravitational pull every single day. And instead of chasing a viral moment that could have helped his public narrative, he sent the camera away and went back to his footwork. That is what real competitive seriousness looks like when nobody is watching. And then there's Josh Cribbs. And I want to be very precise about who Josh Cribbs is in this specific context, because it matters enormously. Not a television personality chasing airtime. Not someone manufacturing controversy to stay relevant. One of the most genuinely beloved figures in the entire modern history of Cleveland Browns football. A man who earned the right to be heard through years of real sacrifice on that field. When someone with that kind of standing says something uncomfortable about the franchise's direction, you don't reduce it to a hot take. You engage with it at the level it actually deserves. What Cribbs said was direct. He wants Shedeur Sanders to receive a genuine evaluation, not a managed one. Not one where the organizational decision has already been quietly shaped by financial considerations operating in the background. A real evaluation built on competitive evidence gathered under real conditions. Conditions that his entire first professional season never once provided. Because let's actually look at what that first season involved. Shedeur played inside a franchise in structural chaos. An offensive line that couldn't consistently protect him. A receiving room that was incomplete in ways that made his job categorically harder on nearly every snap. And across 7 starts under those conditions, he competed at a level that earned Pro Bowl recognition from the players and coaches watching him do it. Not a sympathy vote. A deliberate collective judgment from people who watch professional football for a living that what they were witnessing from a rookie in a broken environment was genuinely remarkable. And still the coverage consistently positions him as the one with questions around him. While Deshaun Watson, nearly 2 full years removed from meaningful NFL football, carrying 2 Achilles ruptures, gets framed as the misunderstood veteran whose best football is simply waiting for the right system to unlock it. Look at that contrast directly. Then ask yourself honestly whose interests it serves. The Baker Mayfield reference that Cribbs dropped hit harder than almost anything else in this entire conversation. And it was absolutely meant to land that hard. He didn't throw that name out casually. He dropped it fully loaded with everything it carries in Cleveland specifically. All the weight, all the pain, all the complicated recognition of what this franchise allowed to walk out the door before it ever had the right conditions to show them what it genuinely was. Mayfield was pushed out. The organizational patience ran thin. The narrative turned against him. And then he went somewhere that actually believed in him, and he won a Super Bowl ring. Cribbs was asking Cleveland a question so precise and so pointed it's almost brutal in its honesty. Are you really about to replay this? Are you going to let $46 million in sunk cost pressure, the institutional desire to justify the most expensive decision in franchise history, and the confident repetition of a verdict formed before the evidence existed? Are you going to let all of that cost you something real? That is not rhetoric designed for clicks. That is the defining question of what Cleveland builds from here. And the answer will echo across the next decade. If this is the kind of breakdown you come here for, real analysis, no recycled narratives, no agenda, then do me a favor right now and subscribe to Brown's Breakout and hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it means everything to this channel. Now here's the football question that almost nobody is asking seriously. And the fact that nobody's asking it genuinely puzzles me. Todd Monken built one of the most dynamic offenses in the entire NFL during his time in Baltimore. And the load-bearing structure of everything he constructed, there was Lamar Jackson, one of the most singularly unique athletic weapons the quarterback position has ever seen. A player whose legs fundamentally rewired every defensive calculation on every single snap. Now look at who is competing in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders is a pocket quarterback. His entire game is built on timing, precision, structural accuracy, rapid coverage processing, and clean delivery inside a system designed around exactly those qualities. Deshaun Watson at his best in Houston was a dual-threat quarterback whose most defining plays consistently required his legs to change the arithmetic of down after down. If Monken is now building an offense in Cleveland that places pocket efficiency and timing at its operational center, and everything about his coaching history suggests that's exactly what he does when he has a capable pocket passer available, then the honest football question is whether Sanders is actually the more natural schematic fit for what this staff is trying to build. That question is not getting the serious engagement it deserves. And I think the reason it isn't is that answering it honestly complicates the narrative that's already been packaged and sold to a very large audience. Here is where I land on all of this. Every snap Watson takes is a snap Shedeur Sanders does not take. Development at the quarterback position is not a savings account. You cannot defer the reps, hold them in reserve, and cash them in later when you decide the timing is finally right. A quarterback grows through specific repetitions accumulated under specific competitive pressure with specific coaching attention applied at a specific point in his development arc. That window is not permanent. It does not wait. The real cost of building this competition around Watson's contract is not measured in any budget line. It is measured in the trajectory of the quarterback who is supposed to represent what this franchise becomes next. The media narrative and what is actually happening inside that building are two completely different stories right now. Todd Monken said Shedeur went first. Shedeur earned more reps. Shedeur chose footwork over a viral moment when it would have been so easy to choose otherwise. The receipts are there. Somebody just had to actually pick them up. Now you've seen them too. What do you do with that? Drop it in the comments. I want to know exactly where you stand.